A Muskegon Heights woman is frustrated with the city's outdated records. A grave she paid for at Mona View Cemetery has someone else in it, and the city has no proof who it is. 13 on your side's Carla Byron went to the city for an explanation. Carla, this is quite the mix-up.
Yeah, Val, it is. The city manager admits there's a lack of clarity going on, and they tried to resolve the unfortunate situation as best they could. Diane Jones says she bought a burial plot at Mona View Cemetery in Muskegon Heights for her mother in the late 90s. But when it came time for her mother's burial on Monday, there was a problem.
When the funeral home contacted Mona View Cemetery about the service, the burial, they were told that there was no plot for my mother.
To Jones's shock, someone else was buried there instead. But Jones had her contract and receipt, so she went to the city that owns the cemetery for answers.
They wanted me to buy another plot and or pay to exhume whoever was in that plot. And I was not going to do that.
The city ultimately let Jones bury her mother on Tuesday, free of charge beside her grandmother's grave. City manager Troy Bell says the person buried in the grave is Jones's mother's brother. He claims she decided to give that grave to her brother more than a decade ago because she didn't have the money to pay for another at the time, and she would address buying one at a later date. But she passed away before the issue was resolved.
But they don't know for sure, and I certainly don't, because I don't have any paperwork for him. My aunt was his payee, and she's since passed away.
You see, the city has no proof either because Bell says their system is antiquated. In a statement, Bell says nobody wants to have to go through confusion when they're grieving the loss of a loved one, and it's unfortunate the city did not have a more modern system in place. Previous administrations tried to balance needs to pave the roads, and modernizing the system was one of the challenges they were struggling with. If the city does find the records, then Jones will have to pay for the new plot her mother was buried in. A frustrating ordeal for Jones.
The one thing I'm happy for is we got her buried, but I don't want any future hiccups.
The city hopes to upgrade their system during the 2022 fiscal year that would track the cemetery's plots and the data associated with the plots electronically. Secondly, they would work with the Department of Natural Resources, the DNR, to do GIS mapping of all the burial sites. They would use funding through a grant to do this, and City Council would have to approve both projects. Val.
Certainly a lot of work ahead. Thank you, Carla.